In today's video, I've got 4 brand new mutes from Huber Music. What's going on, everyone? My name is Joshua Rzepka, and today is Mute Monday. If you're new around here, welcome. Mute Monday is the only weekly series on YouTube dedicated to trumpet mutes. And today I am very excited to be sharing with you 4 brand new mutes from Huber Music. Now, first off, a big thanks to Frank Huber for sending me these 4 mutes so that I could feature them on Mute Monday. This is not a sponsored video, but he did send me these mutes. And you're gonna wanna make sure that you stick around until the very end because he gave me a special coupon code to share with all of you so you can get 15% off. I don't make anything off of any of those sales. This is just something that was really nice that Frank decided he wanted to do to everyone watching Mute Monday. So before we hear these mutes, I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. And we're actually going to hear from Frank in just a couple minutes. I had an opportunity to interview him, and I'm going to include some of that in this video. Now, starting off, check out this first mute. This he calls the Rzepka mute. Look at this mute. You see the ridges on it? And look at that. It kind of looks like a Harman mute, right? Like a wah mute of sort. And look at the other side. Check that out. Look inside. You can see there's a tube on the inside of there, and it's not adjustable. You can't move it. This is a fixed tube on the inside of this mute, and this gets a really unique sound. And there's a great story about this mute and how it came to be, and I'm gonna let Frank tell that in just a couple minutes. Next up is a mute that is certainly a lot more familiar to many of you. Check this out. This is none other than the Mel-O-Wah mute. There's the label. Check out the bottom. You can see the design, and this has got foam up on top, although he also offers it with cork and a synthetic cork. And if you look on the inside, there is a tube inside of this mute as well. And this is basically a copy of the Ray Robinson Mel-O-Wah, which hasn't been made for decades and decades. They're very hard to find. I've got one of them, and I just sent it off to be restored by Josh Wagner, and so I'm excited to be getting that back. I'll compare this with the original at some point in time once I get it back. But in the meanwhile, now you can get a Mel-O-Wah. And of course, Humes & Berg still makes their version of the Mel-O-Wah mute, but the Ray Robinson one is so popular with so many people. And this kind of fills out the line of those vintage mutes that Frank Huber makes, because of course he has that cup mute that is reminiscent of the Ray Robinson cup with the felt liner inside, and then he has the straight mute as well. So it is great to be able to have the Mel-O-Wah as part of that collection. All right, and rounding it out, we've got 2 Pixie mutes, and Pixie mutes aren't all that common, and these are really ones you want to check out. Let's look at this one first. So this has got a little stand, and well, why does it have a little stand that it would sit in? Because check out the bottom of this mute. You see there is a little nib there on the bottom, and that is an old classic design. And look at how the corks are configured on this mute, and check out the label there. So this is the Kellso Pixie. John Eric Kellso, fantastic trumpet player in New York City, and he lent Frank Huber these Pixie mutes to be recreated. John Eric is a master trumpet player, and he plays all of the old music, and he is a master with all these mutes, and he uses the Pixie a lot. So this naturally was one that was just perfect to be recreated. And of course, it has to come with a little stand, otherwise you can't put it down. So this is a nice little stand. It allows you to have it on the gig and on your shelf without it rolling around and falling all over. Now check out this last one. This is also a Pixie, and this is the Huber Music Buzz Pixie. All right, check that out. There we go. Buzz Pixie. And look on the bottom. It's tough to tell, but there you go. You can see there are holes on the bottom, and well, this is a buzz mute, and inside there is a membrane, there's some screws. You can actually unscrew the bottom, and then there you can see on the inside, and that can be replaced if it breaks. You can unscrew those 2 screws, and you can put a different membrane in there if you want. You could put a piece of wax paper. You could put a new piece of plastic. You can experiment, but it's really great that you can change that so easily, and that the bottom of this is threaded. Of course, all of these mutes, they are 3D printed. These are 21st century mutes, and it's really cool how he is taking modern technology and recreating mutes of the past. Mutes that are 50, 70, 80, 100 years old. Very, very cool. So hats off to Frank Huber. Now, speaking of Frank, as I mentioned earlier, I had the opportunity to interview him and ask him about these brand new mutes. So let's check out that interview. Hey, Frank, thanks so much for taking the time to talk about your mutes and to share some information about them. Can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration and the creation of this step-wah mute?
So yeah, so the step-wah I had gotten probably around October. Somebody had picked up a few of my mutes out in California, and he does a lot of trad jazz, and he sent me that Sweets Edison video where he's playing one of these, and he had no idea what the mute was. So I had started asking around. I think I actually asked you, and you got a hold of I believe it was Nando or somebody out in Europe, and he was able to identify it. After he got that, he sent me an ad or two, and I was able to start working on it just from pictures and the video with Sweets playing it. And then a few months go by on that, and John Eric Kellso actually found a collector in Europe, I believe in the UK, who just found one after looking for 30 years. And shockingly, he sent it to me in the mail to actually really dial it in the rest of the way. And that was about a month and a half, 2 months ago. So that's where the step-wah kind of came from. And the original mute was made by Lou Davis. And it was the Nat, I can't pronounce his last name, Nat Ganella. But yeah, so that was where that mute originally came from. And so, it's a fixed stem, kind of like, fixed stem, kind of like a Harman, different sound though than a Harman.
So you've got this excellent Kellso Pixie. Can you tell us a little bit about the development of that?
So that's a little bit longer of a story. So I played a gig with them in like 2015. We both forgot about the gig and just kind of, forgot about knowing each other. And at the time I was developing the Mega Mute, which you had sent me some dimensions on. And shortly after, I contacted John because I was going to have him test it out because he's in the city and it's an easy, easy trip for the mute to make. So, he tested it out and he kind of said, "Oh, hey, have you thought about making a Pixie?" And that was kind of next on my list. And he said, "I have a few that I have, I think would make a good Pixie." And he uses these, these style of Pixies with the nub on the end. I have an original floating around somewhere. It's right in front of me behind the monitor. So he sent me over a few variations of these. This one I picked up about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Some of them are, much, much longer. And we kind of took the best parts of each sound-wise, length of the inside tube on these, length of the actual mute for intonation. And, I started making those, tweaking the thickness of the plastic and sending them to John to test out and compare with his originals. And I don't know how many iterations later we had, finally gotten something really close to the metal mute, or as close as I think we can get to using plastic. So that's how that one kind of came about. That was John's suggestion on what he thinks would make a great Pixie. And I mean, he's right. They really do play in tune much more than any Pixie I've found before. So I really have to thank him for that.
Wow, that's great. And then you've got this Buzz Pixie.
Yeah, so the Buzz Pixie, it's the same body as the regular Pixie. So fortunately, that was the bulk of the design was already kind of taken care of. The Buzz portion of it, I spent a few months tweaking it and figuring out exactly how to make it work. It's different than the Buzz Jazzer bass we have for the straight mute. Those just, it's 4 kazoo resonators basically glued onto the bass. This is actually using a film, and it has a cap that goes on top that secures it in place. So it makes changing them out a little bit easier. Trying, if you want to try different materials, you can do that. Some people have used wax paper on these. They use plastic. This is a really thin, fine foil that I'm using on these. And it's all secured. And I actually have one disassembled here so you can see. There's no foam on this, but you have a foam gasket. You have your material that goes on that, and then a cap goes on top to secure it. And then the protective base, that would just cover up all that and keep the foil protected.
These new mutes that you've got, the most common would be this Mel-O-Wah. And was this one that you always wanted to make?
This is one that started out, I've had a few Robinson mutes, some of the seamless ones and everything. And I've always just wanted a complete set. So I picked it up, just wanted the complete set. And after playing on it a little bit, decided, this would be a cool mute to have as an addition to, the lineup, because there's nothing really out there that sounds quite like those. So that one just came out of just just liking the mute, liking the way it sounded, and not exactly liking the way the original played. So I tried to, improve on some of those qualities.
All right, that was great. It's not all that often that you get to talk with the mute manufacturer, the person who designed and built the mutes. A big thank you, Frank, for spending some time with us in today's Mute Monday. Now, I think that's enough talking. Let's hear these mutes. So you've just heard all four of these mutes, and what did you think? Which one was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. So starting off with this step-wah mute, what did you think about this? I just love the sound of this mute. It is so unique. There's really no other mute on the market that sounds quite like this. And it plays very well throughout the registers. It's got great intonation, evenness of sound. It's easy to play. It is really a very nice wah mute. You know, you can get some great effects out of this mute, and I am just so happy that this mute exists now. And how about that story of how this mute even came to be? After Frank saw that video of Harry Sweet's Edison playing, which I will link down in the comments below, and then finding out what the mute was, and then finding one, and then somehow getting someone from Europe to send it to him. The whole thing is improbable, but now we have this mute. And it just benefits the entire trumpet community, so I think that is great. All right, up next was the Mel-O-Wah mute. And what did you think about this mute? I gotta say, I love the sound of the Mel-O-Wah mute. Like I said, I've got an original one, but this one, I like this one even more than my original. It captures that sound of the original, but it's got less intonation problems. This is an easier mute to play, so I gotta say, I really like this mute just for that reason. And you can't get them anymore, and these are hard to come by. So it's really exciting that Frank was able to make such a great copy of this mute, and I think you really nailed it. Now, moving on to these two Pixie mutes. I gotta say, normally I do not play with Pixie mutes. I don't use them all that often. Even when I'm using a plunger mute, I don't always throw a Pixie mute in, but that's generally been because I didn't have a good Pixie mute. Well, now I've got a great one, and I'm just super stoked about this mute. It's a classic design. Again, this is a very old mute that he recreated, and then he took it one step further with this Buzz Pixie. And I gotta say, I think of all four of these mutes, this one might just be my favorite because it is so unique. It has got such a cool sound, and the buzz on this is just terrific. It's got a nice full buzz sound. You get a little bit of that, you know, Pixie mute coming through. It's kind of like a subtle straight mute of sort. And wow, what a cool mute. I'm going to be using this on gigs just because it is so fun. I'm gonna figure out a way to use it. That's the great thing about mutes. They just give you so many colors to your sound. They give you so many possibilities for doing something new. So because of that, I gotta tip my hat to Frank for making these fantastic mutes. All four of these brand new mutes that he came out with. I gotta say, I am very impressed with all of them. Now, I said near the beginning of this video that there was a coupon code that Frank had created for all of you, and I'm gonna just reiterate, I do not make any commission. I don't make anything off these sales. I didn't ask for the coupon code. He was just kind, and he wanted to show some love to everyone watching these videos. So this coupon code is good for 1 week. And go to his website, linked below, and type in the code MuteMonday15 for 15% off your order. I think that's fantastic, and a very big thank you for extending that to everyone watching. So if you dug these mutes, this is the perfect opportunity to maybe pick one or two up at a discount. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you found it helpful. If you did, let me know. Leave a comment below. Hit that like button and make sure you subscribe. It really makes a very big difference. I want to thank you for watching, and if you haven't seen my previous video on Huber Music Mutes, well, you can watch it right here.